Welcome to SethCraft. I'm currently building a 20 by 30 workshop, and it's time to put the interior sheathing on the walls. Now there are several different materials that you can use to cover your walls. The most popular, of course, would be sheetrock here in the US, but panels are another option, and I'm going to be using a 1/2 inch maple plywood. Now you might be thinking, that's an awfully nice plywood to be putting on the walls, and you're right. This stuff at a big box store like Lowe's runs about $75 to $80. My neighbor has a giant warehouse of these, and he was very generous to give me an amazing price on this. So I've got a bunch of this, and I'm going to be putting it here on the interior of all of my shop. So if you're interested in this, continue watching. To begin, I'm going to put the first piece right here. It does not require any cuts. It's just a matter of placing this up and getting it installed. I'm going to be using some 2-inch torx screws to get this installed. My local hardware store has these in bulk for half price of your typical location, such as Lowe's or Home Depot. $5 per pound instead of 9 or 10. So I'll be using those, using an impact driver to get those installed. Now, the next piece we do will have to have a cut, either a receptacle or a window. We'll see which one we want to get into. We get this first piece moved into position here. Now, if you're interested in installing sheetrock on your walls, I do have a video about doing that down in the description below, so you can see what I did to get that done. I'm going to kick this into position, get my impact driver out, and start putting some screws in. Yeah. Eyeballing at least up here on the top. There's our first sheet installed, very basic. I just have 3 screws across the bottom, and then they move 3 screws up as they go along to keep everything attached nice and tight to the wall. Let's move on next to this window wall, which means we will have to cut out the space around that window using several tools down here. I have my next sheet laid out on my sawhorses, so it's ready to be cut. Let's go ahead and take some measurements over here at the window. My reference point is going to be over here in this corner. So I've got my tape measure. Let's measure this direction. We've got 14-inch there, and we've got 14-inch there, which is good news. And then from the bottom down here, we've got 40 inches. So 14-inch and 40-inch. I'm going to use this edge down here as the lower edge. So that's where my 40-inch is going to be measured from. So go up here, make sure I'm 14 inches over. Got 40-inch right there. And if I step this direction, I can find 14, which is right here. The next value I want is to go from the floor up to the top up here. We've got 76 and 1/8. From the bottom, going up 76 and 1/8. And the last measurement I need for the window is to find out this side, which is going to be 38 1/4. Now that I have all 4 corners, I'm going to use a straight edge to draw a line between these. To make these cuts, I'm going to do a plunge with my circular saw, and then I'm going to hit the corners with a jigsaw to knock those out. Now it's time to see how well I did. A little off up here at the top, but I think that's acceptable. I'll have some trim on here later, so be good enough. There's piece number 2, totally done. Now, I know you may not want to hear this, but I am going to be painting this siding to make everything look nice and white for filming purposes. So, yeah, the stuff you see, like these imperfections in the wood, will be white eventually. All right, now let's move on to a wall that has one receptacle down here. Now we'll be cutting out that very similar. It's just a much smaller box than the window is. And so I'll have to use the drill and some drill bits, as well as the jigsaw here, to cut out those receptacle holes. Measuring this outlet is very similar to the window. I'm going to find this first corner here, which is 14.5 by 15, and I will find that spot, and then I will measure out from there to get the rest of the box done. Now, since you've already seen me measure and mark, I will leave that step out, and I'll show you how I cut these out of here. I've drawn the outline of the box here on my sheathing. I'm going to take a couple of drill bits into the opposite corners here. Step this up a bit. These bits are so used and old that they don't really cut that well, so that's why I'm having to step up once. Now the purpose of those holes is to allow my jigsaw to fit in there to cut this out. Now let's see how well I did here. I'm known for not doing this very well. Let's see if I got close enough that it's going to work, or if I have to alter this any. All right, looks like, well, no, that'll work. Just have to give it a little kick and it'll go in there. I finished getting that piece up with the one receptacle cut into it, so that is looking nice. Now our next install is going to be a rip cut, and that's for the corner over here. Let's measure that and get this cut down. Looks like this one needs to be 16 3/4 inch. Just going to start on this side over here, do 16 3/4. Just going to transfer a line across this. Now that I have the line drawn, it's time to rip this down with the saw. I do have to keep in mind that I have my saw horses up under there. Let's see how we did here. Get this kicked off into the corner. Good, I like it. Now that I have the lower panels installed, it's time to get this last little section done. So I'm going to take my tape measure here and measure up. And we've got 23.5 inches. So I'm going to cut the 8-foot panel into 4 sections of 23.5 inches. These panels are going to install basically the same as the ones down below, except on the top up here I have more material to attach to. And now that you've seen the process, I'm going to finish out the rest of this room, and then I will show you what it looks like whenever it's all finished. I'll be right back. I just finished getting the wall covering here in this room, as well as the big room and most of what's next door in the next room over. Let's take a tour around here and I'll show you what all has been done. I started on this corner first, and as you can see, it is done and looking good. I finished on over here, had one small piece up there, and to save a little bit of this expensive plywood, I did patch together a couple of spots. As you can see, this strip going along here. There's going to be a shelf going all the way around this building at the 2 foot from the ceiling mark, and so that will be totally covered up. But as you can see, I've got everything done over here as well, and had one little piece in the middle of that wall to wrap up. So let's go ahead and step over next door and show you the other work that I've been doing. It's a different color plywood over here, but it has been going well. I don't have my ceiling material yet, and so that's why I've stopped at this height. But these pieces are also doing very nice, as you can see. Got all the way around here. If I swing over this way, I can show you that the door has been covered up over there. And now let's move over here to the big room where I've also finished this up. Now you may be sad to hear this, but I am going to be painting all of this. It's going to be white, and that's for filming purposes, so it will be nice and bright in here. But this room is all complete all the way around. I think it turned out to be very nice. Over here I have a little closet space that is for my electronics, and that has also been covered up fully. And everything is looking pretty good. I'm pleased with how it has turned out. It's so nice to have the walls covered, so I'm not looking at that insulation anymore. And whenever this is painted, it should be very nice and bright in here. I'm looking forward to that as well. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed yet, be sure to do that because there are several more videos to go here on this 20 by 30 workshop build. I'm Seth with the SethCraft Workshop, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.